What's up, guys? Today we will be talking about Chapter 23, Economics, Environment, and Sustainability. So here's a quick review of an outline of what we're going to be talking about today. Please know in the bold is what we're going to be covered on the PowerPoint, while the white will be covered by the second video by my friend Noel. Alright, so to start off, you're probably wondering what the heck an economic system is. I mean, you hear that fancy word economics and the economy all the time in the news, so it must be pretty important. Well, an economic system is a social institution through which goods and services are produced, distributed, and consumed to satisfy people's needs and wants. So what that means is that economic systems use different types of resources, and you'd be surprised by how many types there are. For example, in order to produce raw materials, you need natural capital. Natural capital are from natural resources such as land, water, and air. And on the other hand, you have human resources.
I was the Human Resources Director for the Muppets. Mr. Beaker, it is my unfortunate task to inform you that your services will no longer be required by this company.
Okay, hold on. That's not human resources. Human resources are labor, innovation, culture, and organization that all come from people's physical and mental talents. And finally, we have manufactured resources. These are items such as machinery, equipment, and factories. These all go together to produce the goods and services we enjoy. Economic systems go off supply and demand. So here's how it works. Say you have 1 barrel of oil. If everyone wants oil, then you have millions of people demanding to buy your oil. Besides making you extremely popular, it will make the oil really expensive. Now, on the other hand, if your friends also have oil, then the prices would drop because there would be more places to buy the oil from. Economics looks for the market price equilibrium, where the price and demand are just right to make the production the most profitable.
Okay, so at this point, you might be wondering why the heck we're talking about supply and demand curves and of course about the environment. You see, everything that we do in our economy affects the environment. Whether we're making the products in the factories that are just spewing harmful chemicals into the air, or waiting hours outside the Apple store to buy the newest iPhone, we're all contributing to the destruction of our environment. The money we use to buy these products just makes its way back to the manufacturers, and they're the wealthy ones laughing it up, while the environment is becoming poorer and poorer every single day.
So like Amanda said, all these factors that go into making an economic system have an effect on our environment. It's basically one big cycle, but it's a cycle we can control. We can choose to live the high life or to be more sustainable.
Since we live in such an industrialized country, we have a high throughput economy where we constantly increase the flow of matter and energy resources that we have taken from the environment to make these products that we just can't live without. I mean, what would you do if you couldn't text your friend during class while you poorly hide your phone on your lap from your teacher? See, economists care about the needs and wants of their consumers. But what about the poor environment? These high-throughput economies produce very harmful levels of pollutants and waste that end up in our air, water, and soil. This depletes our freshwater lakes, aquatic life, and forests. But who cares about that as long as we have our smartphones, right? Well, you see, some people actually are thinking of ways to help protect our environment. Some environmentalists and economists use a tool called cost-benefit analysis to decide how to control pollution and manage resources in our environment. This also determines who or what might be affected by a certain project, potential outcomes of their actions, and the benefits of their actions. Other alternatives to help sustain the environment we live in include taxing pollution and wastes instead of wages and profits, and using tradable pollution and resource permits to reduce pollution and resource waste in the environment. Wow, so some people actually do think about the consequences of their actions. Who knew, right? In fact, next month, the United Nations will be holding a summit for global action and sustainable development like they do every year. At the summit, sustainable development goals will be discussed to finally try to make a positive difference in the environment. Thank goodness, something different for a change. Now, let's hear a little bit about what avid environmental science student Noel Castro has to say about our environment.
By using the full pricing method as a way of helping out the environment, we can ensure that that manufacturers have like enough resources to give back to the environment instead of just holding all the money for themselves. By including environmental and harmful health costs to the prices of items, we can ensure that companies have the resources to give back to the environment instead of holding all the money to themselves, and without causing them to have a net loss in their profits. The only bad thing about this, though, is just that it's just so impractical, because if all these companies were to increase their prices for the environment, who would want to buy products when you can just buy something cheaper? This is why although it's a good idea in theory, adding full price costing isn't necessarily good for the environment or for our economy. Taxing pollution and waste is a great way to encourage helping the environment, and a very good way to reward companies who are already environmentally friendly. This is because if we were to tax the waste and pollution that some of these money-grubby companies cause, like this, instead of like their wages and policies and whatever, this will make it so like they will focus more on the harm that they're causing to the environment as a whole for their own personal gain, which is, I guess, fine, because in the end they're still helping the environment, and in the end we're all just happier people. While on the other hand, companies that are already environmentally friendly will in fact be rewarded with like greater tax cuts, because since they're already friendly towards the environment, they won't be taxed as much. And since we're gonna stop taxing with their wages, in total, they'll see a greater like profit in their businesses and in their companies. As we all know, coal is really bad for the environment with all the CO2 emissions and whatnot. And it just so happens that most coal is burned in developing countries where they can't afford other sources of, sustainable energy. This is probably because of their high population density and growth. Like, after all, what family can afford sustainable energies and other sources if they have to afford food and other resources for their families? I'm pretty sure if we were to reduce poverty, we'd be able to see a really big decrease in the coal that we burn and the environmental degradation that occurs, and as well as just overall health for the residents of those developing countries. By using the 4 principles of sustainability, there are many different economies that we can come up with. One of them happens to be called the reuse economy, in which we take all the matter that we've been using and we recycle it so we can use it again in something else. But the only problem with this is that we can't do this forever. And although it might be good for right now to recycle and whatnot, reuse everything, recycling actually takes a lot of high quality energy. And according to the second law of thermodynamics, in order to recycle something and it takes high quality energy, that high quality energy can't be recycled again. So ultimately, this isn't very sustainable because there's only so much high quality energy that we could use. And in order to have a truly sustainable economy, the cycle has to go in a full circle, not end abruptly. But ultimately, for a truly sustainable economy, we just need to stop using so much resources. That's the point of the low throughput economy. Just by using less resources and energy and just recycling what we actually do use, we can just totally change the way everything in our world works right now. But the most sustainable thing we can do for our environment and for ourselves right now is just simply to stop using so much energy. This is perhaps the most sustainable thing we can do. In other words, by using the low waste economy, we compost matter and energy and recycle, reuse on a bigger scale, but we use on a smaller scale. That way, our overall change we can do to the environment is greater. It is also a good idea to keep a firm grasp on population control, on population growth. Because if population growth were to skyrocket, you'd have all these people using all these resources, which is totally against what the low waste economy is all about.